program.
Hello there. Welcome to Blitz Transmissions. I'm Tommy. Welcome to the debrief and wrap-up live stream for the second annual March Madness Order 66 edition for Hasbro's 6-inch The Black Series line. So we had, over the course of the last month here, a ton, and I mean a ton, of madness with all the voting, all the different rounds. We went through, 3 main rounds, and then the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the finals, and then as of today, we announced our winner. But I figured that was kind of like a anticlimactic note to just do like a post on social media and be like, oh, here's the winner. Thanks for participating. That's it. So I decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and do a little slideshow talking about some of the statistics over the course of the last month. This will be a short but sweet live stream, a great way to tie a bow on March Madness this year before we get back to the regularly scheduled programming here on Blitz Transmissions. So before we get into everything, let's say hello to the chat, and then we'll get into the slideshow, shall we? So, of course, first in chat, it is none other than Commander Bly. We missed him, maybe not so much, on the last live stream we just did 2 days ago now. We've been streaming a lot lately on Blitz Transmissions, but Commander Bly is both a Rancor Battalion channel member and an ARC Trooper in the Patreon. Guys, if you want to go above and beyond and support Blitz Transmissions, you can do that in one of two ways. You can either check out the Rancor Battalion channel membership. It should be the little join button next to the subscribe button there. If you're already subscribed, it just says join, and that is 99 cents a month. You get all my reviews early here on YouTube. You get access to exclusive badges and priority replies in my comment section as well. Or, if you want, you can check out the link in the description below to the Blitz Transmissions Patreon, because Commander Bly is also an ARC Trooper over in the Patreon. $4.99 a month. You get all my content early. You get monthly giveaways, as well as other awesome benefits as well. So, definitely check that out. Check it out. We've also got Adelphi Rangers, New Republic Security Force. I should note before I move on any further, there's currently a thunderstorm going on outside. If I lag out or if the stream, cuts short, that's going to be why. Hopefully we can, go through this presentation, go through this live stream, not have too many issues, right? So we have Adelphi here. He is also an ARC Trooper in the Patreon. Same can be said about Max Rebo. He's out with the family. Catch the replay. Wow. Get your priorities in order, buddy. Next up, we got Red Comet Revan. How we doing? Welcome to the stream. We got Michelle and Little Beastie. My daughter's been looking forward to this stream all week. Just waiting for that Maul. Yes, dude. Maul Shadow Lord releases in less than a week. Very excited for that. We got Star Wars in Brews, another ARC Trooper in the Patreon and Rancor Battalion channel member here. And we'll talk a little bit about this Red Comet Revan later in the stream. I'm pretty confident we'll see that. And maybe a 212th Airborne as well. Let's see who else is in chat here. Looks like we got Hal Runner Base. What up? Another ARC Trooper in the Patreon and Rancor Battalion channel member. March Madness all around indeed, Riley Bob. If you guys participated in the SWTVC March Madness, that is their main event they put on during the year. That was a crazy one as well. We've also got Bolts in here. We got CLD 5555, 212th Hunter. Ayo. Airborne. We got Collecting Star Wars as well. So, all right, guys, welcome in. We're going to talk about some little bit of a debrief on March Madness here. So I created this little slideshow here. Check this out, guys. So here's the slideshow that I put together. And before I forget, let me get rid of our little watermark here. So this is the slideshow for the debrief and wrap up here. So also we got How I Runner. And Scott, what's going on, Scott? Welcome in, welcome in. So, this is the little character poster that I put together for this year. This is not something that I did last year. In fact, there's a lot that I didn't do last year because of how last minute March Madness Order 66 edition was that we're doing this year. So one of them was this awesome character poster that I put together. I got a lot of encouragement from Great White North Empire on Instagram to put this together. Very time consuming, but I thought it came together really nicely. Before we get into the stats and everything, I want to give out a couple thank yous. thank you to everyone that participated in this year's March Madness. We had about the same, if not better, participation than last year. That's always fantastic to see. So I want to give a special thank you to everybody that helped participate in any way, whether you voted in one poll or you voted in every single poll. You contributed to this, and this is how we can hopefully affect which clones get made in the Black Series going forward, and at least prioritizing them, because ultimately I and many others, we want every clone that's ever been created in Star Wars in the Black Series, you know? Let's see. Aside from that, I want to give a shout out to everybody that helped promote Black Series March Madness Order 66 edition, such as Great White North Empire using his creative skills to make his own poster, promoting it, multiple promotions for it. I want to give a shout out to all the channels, all the people on social media that shared posts, reposted, did everything you can to help spread the word about this. So here we have our poster with all 64 of the clones that made it on this year's bracket. So we will move right along here, and we will take a look here. So round one consisted of 32 matchups, obviously, because we had 64 characters, 32 matchups, and each, we did 8 days for 4 days to get to the 32 matchups here. So these are the 8 matchups from day one. We had the Kashyyyk Trooper versus Lieutenant Thayer, the Phase 1 Commander Fox versus Commander Stone, the Phase 1 Pilot versus Phase 1 Kix, Sergeant Hound versus the Quad Gunner ARC Trooper, Blitz and Phil, Alpha 17 and Dogma, Phase 1 Commander Gree and Phase 2 Kix, and then Commander Neo and the Revenge of the Sith Pilot. Something I should also note is that on this bracket this year, it's not something I did last year, the placement of every single character was done by seeding based on what people submitted for the Choose Your Troopers phase. And I believe we had 845 total submissions. So what I did here was I was like, you know what, let's get some little graphics in here and show off how everything shook out for the bracket this year. So here is how everything played out for day one of round one. We had, of course, seed number 1 beating seed number 64, the Kashyyyk Trooper, absolutely dominating Lieutenant Thayer here. But we only had one, what's the word I'm looking for? Good Lord, upset. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, sports ball. We only had one upset in this one for day one of round one. And you can see here I did the total votes that we had for every single poll. And we had the upset being that Phase 2 Kix beat Phase 1 Commander Gree. And that was really interesting to see here. Other than that, all of these were to be expected for the first round as far as seeding goes. Hey, I want to give a shout out to B-Sum for being a Rancor Battalion channel member for 6 months. And I want to give another shout out to Commander Bly for being a Rancor Battalion channel member for 15 months. Shout out to both you guys, as well as the $5 super chat from Star Wars and Brews, Your Awesome Controversy. Insider Intel states Clone 99 really won. I would love to get 99, man. He would be awesome to get in any of the clones that made the bracket would be awesome to get. And I will say it is that the clones making the bracket due to you guys submitting them does increase the chances of them getting made sooner rather than later in the Black Series, because Hasbro does, in fact, pay attention to the results of these polls. And this year, they paid attention to who made the bracket. So, especially with 2028 being the 20th anniversary of the 2008 Clone Wars and the 25th anniversary of the 2003 Clone Wars, the chances are going to be a lot higher, especially because Hasbro may or may not be planning 2028 as of lately. Fingers crossed we'll see some of the guys from this bracket here. But this was day one. I think we pretty much averaged anywhere between 250 and 300 votes on every single poll, which is fantastic. That's awesome. That's awesome outreach on that. But you can see here that other than the one upset, this is how day one went, and it was pretty straightforward. Also, a shout out to Riley Bob for being a Rancor Battalion channel member for 6 months, and also shout out Meeks, the GOAT. What's going on, Meeks? Moving on here, we will go on to day two. So these were the matchups for day two of round one, we had Captain Hauser from season 1 of Bad Batch. We had Adult Omega. Clone Wars Commander Pons versus Boost from Season 1. We had 99 versus Commander Pons from Geonosis and Attack of the Clones. Wolf from Rebels versus Imperial Commander Cody. Captain Keeley versus Boost in his Phase 2 armor. Commander Jet versus Denal. We had Arc Commander Havoc versus the Scuba Trooper from the 03 Clone Wars. And Captain Gregor versus the Phase 2 pilot look from the 2008 Clone Wars. These ones shook out a little something like this. So as you can see, again, we averaged around the polling. This was probably the lowest participation, I believe, on the polling as far as the averages go. But once again, overall, the averages were between 250 and 300 for the polling, which is a fantastic sample size. Usually 100 is considered a decent sample size, but 250 to 300, that's amazing for every single poll. So you can see here, all 8 polls here, not a single upset. These went statistically how they were all supposed to based on the seating here. You can see that 99 just barely scraped by Commander Pons there. But aside from that, all of these were fairly easy to tell who was going to beat who. Did Lobot win again? Bly, ban him. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Make the ATRT. Absolutely, dude. So yeah, we had one of the big ones here. I know a lot of people were really excited about 99 moving on to round 2, as well as one of the Rebels clones, that being Wolf, moving on to round 2. So overall, though, lots of animated clones here. I know there's some people that, say like, prequel trilogy clones above all. But in this case, that didn't really happen in the case 99's popular guy, So we'll move on to, this was what day 3 of round 1 looked like. We had 8 more, so this would be the Galactic Marine, who was the number 2 seed, versus Phase 2 Boyle, Captain Locke versus the 212th ARF Trooper from the Second Battle of Geonosis, Arc Commander Colt versus Commander Trauma, Commander Doom versus the Phase 1 ARF Trooper. We had Gregor from Rebels versus the Stealth Bomber pilot, as well as the Captain Rex in his Cold Assault armor versus Corporal Comet in his Phase 2 look. We had the 212th Airborne from Revenge of the Sith versus Captain Fordo in his Phase 2 look from Volume 2 of the 03 Clone Wars. And then we had Boyle in his Phase 1 armor set versus the Flame Trooper from the Second Battle of Geonosis here. And let's take a look. We've got, let's see who won these. We had 1 or 2 upsets here. 3 upsets. 3 upsets out of the 8 for day 3. So 3 of the upsets were actually that the ARF Trooper beat Captain Locke. I could totally understand why that is. Last year for March Madness Order 66 edition, the I believe the 212th ARF Trooper made it all the way to like the Elite 8 and made it to like the quarterfinals. So that one was expected that he would beat him, even though his seeding was lower. The Stealth Bomber pilot beating Gregor from Rebels did surprise me a little bit, just mainly because the Stealth pilot was one that I didn't think was going to make the bracket at all, and there was a lot of outcry this year for the Rebels clones, so that one did surprise me a little bit. And then the Flame Trooper beating Phase 1 Boyle really surprised me, because Phase 1 Boyle scored really high on the overall rankings when we were putting the seeding together, and especially such a blowout like that, 73% to 27%. And you can see again, this one, actually this day might have been our lowest participation overall, as far as the average goes, the daily average, but still around 200, close to 250 votes on every single one. That's still really nice, and a lot of animated clones here as well. I think I only see 2 out of all the 16 here are live action CGI prequel trilogy clones. But this was good for round 1, and then we'll move on to the final day of round 1, day 4 here. And we've got Commander Mayday versus Waxer in his Phase 2 armor set. Commander Bly in his Phase 1 armor set versus Draw. We have Captain Vaughn versus the Phase 2 Wolfpack Trooper. The Phase 1 look for Commander Cody versus the Phase 1 look for Commander Ganch. We had the Phase 1 look for Waxer versus the 501st ARF Trooper from the Battle of Umbara. We had Commander Oddball from Revenge of the Sith versus Cut Lawquane from Clone Wars. And then we had Commander Thorn versus Arc Commander Hammer. And then Rex from Rebels versus Clone Trooper Buzz. These ones shaked out a little something like this. We had one upset out of the 8 here. The one upset that we had was that the ARF Trooper beat out Waxer. I won't lie, that one did surprise me a little bit, mainly because I know a lot of people, when they say they want named clones, wanted Waxer and Boyle. Those are like the top of most people's lists. I think that for a lot of people, though, a lot of people think that, okay, am I going to get the ARF Trooper? Maybe that'll get us a step closer to getting an ATRT, because I know that's something that a lot of people really, really want. Then, of course, you can see Rex and his Rebels look also progressing to round 2. So 2 of our 3 Rebels clones progressing into round 2. And then, of course, the rest of them just named officers. You can see all kinds of named officers. That seemed to be a theme that I saw, especially in round 1, was that named clone trooper officers seemed to win most of the polls leading up to the end there, where we started to really get into, a couple very, very big troop builders, very popular troop builders. Yeah. Let's see. I voted every day in every Black Series bracket I saw. Hey, kudos to you, man. And we all appreciate that kind of support. Running all these numbers, are you auditioning to be a Hasbro bean counter? No, because I actually like Star Wars, so no. Also, shout out to Darth Moocher for 13 months as a Rancor Battalion channel member. I really appreciate your support, man. Thank you much. I only voted if the clone had blue in it. Get out of here, dude. I agree, dude. We need Mayday. I think he was seed number 3 or seed number 4. He was seed number 4 overall for sure. But then we got past round 1, we moved right into round 2, and then, of course, we did 4 matchups a day for 4 days for round 2. So the first day of round 2, we had the Kashyyyk Trooper versus Phase 1 Commander Fox, the Phase 1 Clone Pilot versus Sergeant Hound, Arc Commander Blitz versus Alpha 17, Phase 2 Kix versus Commander Neo. And then, of course, this is how those turned out here. So I won't lie, I fully expected the Kashyyyk Trooper to win, and I fully expected Commander Neo to win, but I won't lie, I'm pretty surprised that both Sergeant Hound and Arc Commander Blitz were going to progress onto round 3. I thought for sure that, just on the sole basis that the Phase 1 pilot is from the prequel trilogy, that he was going to absolutely, rock Sergeant Hound in that matchup, but I was pleasantly surprised. I love when I see animated clone troopers get some love, and in a bracket like this is exactly the place for that. And it was cool to see Sergeant Hound get that there, so that was really cool. And then I thought for sure, I think had it not been specifically Commander Blitz, had it been one of the other Rancor Battalion commanders, I would have voted for Alpha 17 myself, just because I grew up with the Dark Horse comics. I was astounded that Blitz won, and not even just neck and neck. He won by a large margin there. So that was very, very surprising to me. But moving right along there, as you can see here again, though, I want to note, you can see those numbers are really, we had a big jump here in participation once we got to round 2. So we'll move on to day 2 of round 2. We have, of course, Captain Hauser from Season 1 of The Bad Batch versus Commander Pons from the Clone Wars. We have 99 versus Wolf from Rebels, the Battle of the Unk Clones. We've got Captain Keeley versus Commander Jet. And then we've got Arc Commander Havoc versus Captain Gregor. Now, there were some really, really interesting ones on day 2 of round 2 here. You can see, again, we have really good participation here, very evenly, proportioned here. I was expecting Hauser to win, and I was expecting Gregor to win. And once again, just like on day 1 of round 2, we had just 2 that didn't go how I thought they would. Unfortunately, 99 got beaten out by Wolf from Rebels. That one crushed me a little bit, I won't lie. But we also had the matchup between Captain Keeley and Commander Jet. This one was so fun, and this was definitely the tightest race of the entire bracket this year. These guys were literally 50-50. Like, it was like there'd be an even number of votes, and it would be 50-50 right up until round 2 completely ended, and we were about to move into round 3. It really, blew me away. I was really happy to see such a close race. It was like nail-biting. I think I voted for Captain Keeley, but I would have seriously been happy with either one of these. I definitely want to see both in the Black Series in the near future. But I think that in a race like this where it's so close, I think that it shows that there's a desire for both characters, especially with there being over 250 votes here. That's a lot of people. So that one really for me, I was really excited to see. Some sort of a close race here. If you voted Keeley over Jet, we throw in hands. Unk99 rejected again. Mooch, now you got to shave your beard. That was our March Madness bet. All right, day 3 of round 2, we have the Galactic Marine versus the 212th ARC Trooper. Arc Commander Colt versus Commander Doom. We have the Stealth Bomber Pilot versus Captain Rex in his Cold Assault armor. And we also have the 212th Airborne versus the Flame Trooper. Now, I will point out as well, I actually expected that the Galactic Marine would win this entire bracket for 2 reasons. One, the Galactic Marine was the number 1 seed last year and won the whole thing, and then the Galactic Marine was the number 2 seed this year. So I honestly expected him to take the whole thing again. But looking at the matchups and how they shook out, you can see again we've got some really nice voting numbers on the individual polls here. Of course, the Galactic Marine absolutely blew out the the 212th Recon Trooper. That one went about how I thought it would. I wasn't sure, honestly. I thought the Flame Trooper would fare well against the 212th Airborne, but something about those Revenge of the Sith clones people get super excited about. I did expect Commander Doom to win over Colt, and I won't lie, I expected the Stealth Bomber Pilot to do a little better than he did against Rex here, but it's Captain Rex. I think that automatically gives him a lot of points. Yeah, great for Galactic Marine and 212th Recon Trooper. Let's see here. Keep on voting. I voted Stealth. Hey, Shelf Life would be very happy, man. Shelf Life would be very happy. But, yeah, I know Shelf Life was very upset when his Stealth Bomber Pilot, which is the one he really wanted to see make the bracket, got out. Moving on to the 4th and final day of round 2, our last 4 matchups for round 2 were Commander Mayday versus Commander Bly in his Phase 1 armor. We had Captain Vaughn versus Commander Cody in his Phase 1 armor. We had the 501st Legion ARF Trooper versus Commander Oddball from Revenge of the Sith. And Commander Thorn versus Rex from Rebels. Now, I gotta say, this was probably out of every single day the one with the most surprises to me. I kind of figured that Mayday would beat out Bly because Bly sucks and he's the worst clone ever. Bly, I hope you're still in the chat. But I won't lie, the other 3 kind of surprised me here. Captain Vaughn beating Commander Cody, that one really surprised me, especially now that in the Black Series we just got the Phase 1 look for Captain Rex in 2025. I was really expecting Commander Cody to perform really well this year, and you can see he had 291 votes on this poll, so it's more than most of the other ones that we had here. But man, yeah, Commander Cody got destroyed by Captain Vaughn here. And then we had another neck-and-neck race here with the 501st Legion ARF Trooper and Commander Oddball. The 501st Legion ARF Trooper just barely taking the lead by 1 single vote. That is absolutely insane. Again, I think for this, it came down to a couple things. One, Commander Oddball doesn't really have a lot of screen time in comparison to the ARC Trooper. And 2, I think a lot of people just like that ARF Trooper helmet. And 3, I think a lot of people kind of make it synonymous with the ATRT vehicle. I can't really control that when people are voting. Of course, we're only talking about the characters here. But yeah, and then of course, I won't lie, guys. If any of the Rebels clones made it to round 3, I wasn't expecting it to be Wolf and not Rex. I was very surprised to see Commander Thorn beat Rex, especially by such a large margin. So that one was a little crazy there. Hey, at least you know, man, Commander Bly does suck. So this was how round 2, shook out. Let's move into round 3. We had 4 days of round 3 matchups. We had 2 matchups per day for round 3. The first day of round 3 being the Kashyyyk Trooper versus Sergeant Hound, and then Arc Commander Blitz versus Commander Neo. And then, of course, those ones fared about how I thought they would. To be honest, I was surprised that, Blitz beat Alpha 17 and made his way to round 3. But I did not expect Blitz to beat out what is he, the last Revenge of the Sith clone commander? Other than Oddball, of course. I believe that Neo is the last Revenge of the Sith clone commander that hasn't been made in the Black Series yet, especially for that Order 66 sequence. So Kashyyyk Trooper beating Sergeant Hound. Again, Kashyyyk Trooper was the #1 seed this year, so I totally expected this, especially by such a large margin. And then Blitz losing to Neo, it went about how I expected as well. Will Hasbro have to get permission from Vales to make an ARF Trooper? Who knows, man? Yeah, Vales. Well, Vales loves to steal and pirate things, so maybe Hasbro shouldn't have a problem doing it from Vales, right? And then we move on to day 2 of round 3. Our 2 matchups were Captain Hauser in the Phase 1 Bad Batch look versus Wolf from Rebels, and then Captain Keeley versus Captain Gregor. These ones, again, went about how I thought they would. I expected that Hauser would beat Wolf here. So at round 3, we lost the last of our 3 Rebels clones. So all the Unk clones are officially out by round 3. But I have to say, Wolf making it to round 3, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. And again, I should mention, this is our Sweet 16 here in round 3. But then moving on, we also had Captain Gregor versus Captain Keeley. I fully expected that Captain Gregor would beat Captain Keeley just because of how memorable his character is, how much media he shows up in after the Clone Wars. There's just a lot to his character, and you can see this one actually had over 300 votes on this poll here, and it wasn't close. So definitely cool to see nonetheless, these low T clones, these Unk clones, man. Now moving on to day 3 of round 3, we had our 2 matchups being the Galactic Marine versus Commander Doom, and then Captain Rex in his Cold Assault armor versus the 212th Attack Battalion Airborne Trooper. Now these ones, again, I know that there is a huge demographic of people. I think even if you don't really like clone troopers, most collectors like Revenge of the Sith clone troopers. So the Revenge of the Sith clones had a sweep on round 3 here for day 3, with the Galactic Marine absolutely destroying Commander Doom, and the 212th Attack Battalion Airborne Trooper knocking Captain Rex in his Cold Assault gear out of the running. So that was one for sure. Hard not to love Wolf, leading member of Plo's Bros. Absolutely, man. I'm really excited for that new Clones of the Republic 2-pack. If only Plo Koon wasn't on the old Mace Windu body with those pinned double-jointed knees. Moving on to the 4th and final day of round 3 here. We've got Commander Mayday versus Captain Vaughn, and we have the 501st ARF Trooper versus Commander Thorn. So this one shook out once again pretty much how I thought it would. We had pretty similar voting margins here, with Commander Mayday beating out Captain Vaughn. Again, I was shocked that Captain Vaughn beat Phase 1 Cody, but I thought beyond that he wouldn't make it much farther in there. And you can see 337 votes. I think that might have been the highest voting number that we had out of any of the polls for this year's March Madness. And then, of course, Commander Thorn beating the ARF Trooper as well. I think, people see that Commander Thorn helmet, they see that Z6, and their brains just shut off. And they're like, oh yeah, I need that in my collection. I mean, dude, how many clones do we have in the Black Series? We don't have a single one with the Z6. Come on, man. So moving on, we then had our quarterfinals. So I figured I would just include all 4 polls for the all the polls in one slide instead of having one day for each slide. So this took over the course of 4 days this month. We had 1 poll per day, and we had on day 1 was the Kashyyyk Trooper versus Commander Neo. Day 2 was the Captain Hauser and his his season 1 look from Bad Batch versus Captain Gregor. Galactic Marine versus the 212th Airborne, and then on the 4th day we had Commander Mayday versus Commander Thorn. Now, there were some surprises here, but I will say, if you look at these here, we have an even representation in our Elite 8 of prequel trilogy clone troopers, specifically Revenge of the Sith clones, and animated clones. I think that this just goes to show, once again, people really like their officers, they really like their named troopers, but there's also love for Revenge of the Sith troop builders. That is what I'm seeing most here from our Elite 8 this year. What is Bly saying in chat that everybody's talking about? It was all the microplastics. Oh man, dude. That's too funny. But then, let's take a look here. Bro, I'm salty the Marine won over the Airborne. Hey, bro, we haven't even gotten there yet. But let's keep looking here. We've got, so here's all the polls here from the quarterfinals. We had, of course, what I totally expected. The Kashyyyk Trooper would beat Commander Neo. Again, he's the number one seed. There's kind of an expectation there. Very similarly to the Galactic Marine. Now, I will say, Gregor beating Hauser was an upset, and so was Thorn beating Mayday. Especially Thorn beating Mayday. I did not expect that to happen. So we had two, once again, that went about how I thought they were going to, and then we had two that really, really surprised me here. So that one was pretty crazy, especially Thorn beating Mayday. I know lots of people love Mayday, and this also knocks the Bad Batch completely out of the running going into the rest of the polling here. So we're down to Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith going into our semifinals here. So we had our semifinals. These took place over the course of 2 days. We had one poll for each of the 2 days. And the first one here, our number one seed, Kashyyyk Trooper versus Captain Gregor. And then our number two seed on the second day being the Galactic Marine versus Commander Thorn. So that was the last two here. And of course, unfortunately, our animated clones both got knocked out by pretty similar margins once again here. Looking at the Kashyyyk Trooper and the Galactic Marine moving on to the rematch of the century, the rematch of the last year. The Kashyyyk Trooper coming back to take the crown after the Galactic Marine. But yeah, we had some good polling here with these two. People just really want these two troop builders. And what's interesting is moving into the finals here, it looks like this was pretty consistent with last year. So if you participated in the first annual March Madness Order 66 edition last year, we would have had the flip-flop here. So last year, there was... Hold on, guys. I don't know what was going on there. We had... I think I had a dog hair in my mouth or something. We had Galactic Marine last year was number one seed, and the Kashyyyk Trooper was the number two seed. This year, they flipped. And so the Kashyyyk Trooper was the number one seed this year, as I said 7 million times in the last 30 minutes already. And then the Galactic Marine was number two. So to see these guys go in a final face-off, I was really interested to see how this played out and how people would vote, because there are a lot of new faces in the polling this year. I was really interested to see, how things would shake out. And guess how they shook out here? They shook out with our number one seed. 2 years in a row, the number one seed takes it all. Surprise, surprise. We had the Kashyyyk Trooper beating out the Galactic Marine. I will say, it was a pretty close race. 59% to 41%. That's a pretty tight race, especially we had 219 votes. Granted, this only went for 1 day as opposed to 4 days or 2 days like a lot of the other polls. So I kind of expected the voting number to be a little lower. But the Kashyyyk Trooper did pull ahead and did end up winning the whole thing. So the Kashyyyk Trooper is our champion for this year's March Madness Order 66 edition. Now, if we get the Kashyyyk Trooper, we have a pretty high chance of also getting the Galactic Marine or vice versa, because from the waist down, all of the armor pieces and the tooling is all the same between the Galactic Marine and the Kashyyyk Trooper. It's only what's from the waist up that's different. So I thought that's pretty cool. What's up, Mark? How we doing? Hope you're enjoying the stream. But yes, and both are predecessors to original trilogy troopers, for sure. Very, very true. And hey, Mooch says he'll buy them both. So Hasbro, you better step on it. I do have good news. I can say that I was reached out to by someone on the Hasbro Star Wars team as of the last week or two, and asked me to email them with the data for all 64 clones that made the bracket, what their seating was and all that, as well as the data for the Black Series Most Wanted, which took place back in December into January. So Hasbro is aware. They did ask me for the data on this polling here. So that's all I'll say for now. I will just say, though, if you want to do some digging, take a look back at the 2025 bracket for March Madness Order 66 edition, which was the first year that we did it. And starting in June or July of this year, I think we're going to need to start using those brackets, both last year's and this year's, as a bingo card, and maybe playing some clone bingo and trying to figure out which clones are going to come out first and which are going to come out sooner rather than later. So, just saying, just keep it up, you know. Keep a lookout. We got some cool stuff coming up. So, with that, that's our final bracket, guys. Look at that, a nice completed bracket. A lot of people don't realize they're not the same. Yes, correct. Hasbro, don't do me dirty. But here it is. This is the final bracket. Kashyyyk Trooper taking it all. Our final matchup being the Kashyyyk Trooper versus the Galactic Marine. The rematch of the century. And the Kashyyyk Trooper won it all. And that wraps up our little presentation there. So guys, thank you so much for being a part of March Madness Order 66 edition. It was really fun to do it the second year in a row. And it was really fun as well to be a lot more prepared and put a lot more thought and effort into a poll like this. I hope you guys enjoyed participating in March Madness Order 66 edition. If you guys have any feedback, anything you'd like to see me change for next year's event, because we will obviously be doing it again next year, let me know. Let me know if there's anything that you guys want to see. If you guys have any questions before we head out of here, be sure to let me know. Yeah, Mooch, thank you for not being a complete and utter Clone Trooper hater for a month on our Monday Sarlacc show. But, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Yeah. But again, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out because this is going to be it. We're going to go back to the regularly scheduled programming on Blitz Transmissions. For my TVC collectors out there, I've been teasing this. I'm going to tease it again. We may have a troop builder event going on in June. Maybe executing Order 66 on June 6th. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I figured I would just, put the word out there, put the feelers out there for that. But yeah, guys, if anybody has any questions or anything, let me know. I'll hang out for a minute here at the end of the stream. But it's always so much fun to do events like this. It's always hey, all I'm saying is there are going to be clones that were on the bracket this year that by the time of next year's bracket will have already been revealed and or released. Clones plural. Clones plural. That's all I'll say. So, campaign 99. Holdo, troop builder for Moocher. I like that right there. Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, guys, if you guys don't have any questions, I'll probably just head out because I figured, like I said, this is going to be a nice short and sweet stream here. Just get the basic information out to you. Yeah, this will be fun. So with that, guys, I'm just going to head out. I got other stuff to work on here. I got other videos here. So, again, I hope you enjoyed March Madness Order 66 edition. Of course, we'll catch you for the next one. As always, may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. Gotta hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcements?